Sarah Chen had been tracking emergency broadcast patterns for weeks when she noticed something wrong. The harsh tone cut through the KQED newsroom at 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, but this test was 4 days early. 23 years in journalism had taught her to trust her instincts about anomalies. The tone lasted 90 seconds, far longer than normal. When Sarah called FEMA's regional office, the response chilled her. "Ma'am, we didn't authorize any tests this morning." That evening, reviewing months of data in her apartment, Sarah discovered disturbing patterns. Emergency broadcast tests ran longer during major news cycles. Extra tests appeared during election weeks. Frequency variations that matched no official schedule she could find. She made a list of contacts: retired EBS technicians, emergency management officials, anyone who might explain the irregularities. Dr. Elena Vasquez from the FCC agreed to meet at an Oakland coffee shop. The RF engineer looked nervous as she opened her laptop, showing Sarah spectral analysis displays that looked like abstract art. "This is a normal EBS test," Elena explained, pointing to standard waveforms. "This is from your unauthorized test." The second display showed additional frequencies hiding underneath the familiar emergency tones. What are they? Psychoacoustic patterns, specific frequencies designed to influence brainwave activity: alpha waves for relaxation, beta waves for alertness, theta waves for suggestibility. Elena's analysis revealed something terrifying. The hidden frequencies matched classified military communication protocols. Someone was piggybacking encrypted psychological manipulation onto public emergency broadcasts. "But there's someone else you need to talk to," Elena said. Dr. James Morrison. He used to work for DARPA on something called Project Mindbridge. Sarah found Dr. Morrison at Powell's Books in Portland. The thin, gray-haired man spoke in whispers as they walked through the maze of shells. Project Mindbridge officially ended in 2003. The final report claimed mass psychological influence through broadcast systems was impossible. That report was a lie. Morrison explained that emergency broadcasts, because of their mandatory nature and unique audio characteristics, could carry subliminal information that bypassed conscious perception. We could influence purchasing decisions, political preferences, even basic emotional states. The tests were incredibly successful. Weekly EBS tests aren't necessary for system maintenance. They provide regular opportunities for experimentation. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I helped create something monstrous. When I left DARPA, I thought the project was dead. But if you're seeing systematic irregularities," he shook his head, "someone has reactivated it." Sarah returned to San Francisco with more questions than answers, but diving deeper into EBS patterns across the country revealed a disturbing truth. Tests increased during election periods, correlated with demographic data, and preceded polling shifts in swing districts. Her investigation attracted attention. Elena Vasquez called in a panic. "They suspended me. FCC internal security took my computers, everything." Robert Hayes, a retired Navy technician who'd been monitoring emergency broadcasts, was raided by the FBI. His equipment was seized, and he was threatened with espionage charges. Then Sarah's phone rang. "Miss Chen, this is Deputy Director Matthews from Homeland Security. We need to talk." The government meeting was held in a Union Square hotel lobby. Matthews and her intelligence colleagues presented folders marked with classification stamps. "What you've uncovered is a legitimate counterterrorism program. We monitor population stress levels to identify communities at risk of radicalization. The embedded signals don't influence behavior, they measure it." Then why the correlation with election polling shifts? Political extremism monitoring. We track indicators that might predict election-related violence. Sarah wasn't convinced. Even if the primary purpose was monitoring, the capability for influence clearly existed. She aired her investigation on Friday evening, 18 minutes documenting the evidence, the government's explanation, and the constitutional concerns about psychological surveillance of citizens. The question isn't whether this technology exists. The question is whether we're willing to accept government intrusion into our most private psychological spaces without public debate and legal oversight. Federal agents arrived within hours, seizing equipment and files under a sealed court order. The story was pulled from the station's website, but it was too late. Viewers had recorded it and were sharing it across social media. By Monday, Sarah's access credentials were revoked, and the station faced license revocation for unauthorized transmission of classified material. Sarah started a blog called The Signal, posting everything she'd discovered. The suppression efforts only validated her claims, and researchers worldwide began contributing evidence of similar programs in other countries. The breakthrough came when high school students in Portland, analyzing local emergency broadcasts for a science fair project, discovered something professionals had missed. The psychological influence patterns were measurably affecting test scores, mental health statistics, and college enrollment decisions among teenagers. They weren't just manipulating general opinion, they were targeting life decisions at critical developmental moments. The revelation exploded across social media, shared by millions of concerned parents. Congressional hearings followed, but they were classified and focused more on protecting national security than investigating constitutional violations. Then the World Health Organization contacted Sarah. They'd been quietly investigating similar programs in multiple countries and were prepared to go public with a report documenting coordinated international psychological manipulation campaigns. At a Geneva press conference, Sarah presented her findings alongside international experts. The story dominated global headlines and triggered investigations worldwide. The exposure created a cascade of whistleblowers coming forward with additional evidence. The program had been used to influence elections, jury pools, and even military personnel. It included detailed monitoring of individual responses to create psychological profiles of American citizens. President Martinez addressed the nation, acknowledging problems while defending the program's original counterterrorism intentions. He ordered a temporary suspension and appointed a commission to review the programs. But real change came from grassroots organizing. Citizen monitoring networks emerged to watch for any resumption of broadcast manipulation. Technical safeguards were implemented to detect psychological influence patterns in emergency communications. 1 year later, Sarah worked on a book about her investigation from a small apartment in Portland. The monitoring networks remained active, staffed by volunteers who understood that vigilance was the price of cognitive freedom. Her phone buzzed with an encrypted message. New evidence of manipulation program in emergency medical alert systems. Interested? Sarah looked at her laptop where she'd been writing about the importance of independent journalism, then back at her phone. Some stories never truly ended. They just evolved into new chapters. "I'm listening," she typed back. Outside her window, a radio tower blinked against the evening sky, its light pulsing like an electronic heartbeat. The signal was still out there, somewhere in the vast network that connected modern society. And as long as it existed, someone needed to be watching. The transmission continued.